Hello everyone and welcome back for another episode of Little Talks with Big Nikki. I am your host, Big Nikki. On this week's episode, we are going to be talking about that safer can sometimes mean selfish. Getting into how overwhelmed a lot of us probably feel right now with the weight of the world's problems that we as a human race are dealing with, and everything that kind of goes into that on the individual level. So stick around and we're going to be talking about that this week. Roll intro.
Hey, this is Little Talk with Big Nikki.
Hello everyone, I hope you are all doing well. Welcome back for another episode of Little Talks with Big Nikki. I'm glad that you are here, happy that you are listening. Before we get into today's official episode, I have a little ad for everyone to just listen to. If you are a creative, if you are a podcaster now, or you've thought about starting a podcast, I have the perfect distribution software for you to use. It is called Anchor. I just switched over to Anchor from another distribution software, and so far it has been amazing. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, so let me explain. It's free. What? It is free for you to use, does not cost any money. It's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Or you can do what I do and you record it and then upload it later. That works as well. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Guys, I have officially been listed on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to Little Talks with Big Nikki on Apple Podcasts. I'm still on Spotify, still on iHeartRadio, still on Google Podcasts, pretty much still on all the platforms I was on originally, but now with even more added to it. So that is amazing. And Anchor did all the work for me. So that's great. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. So basically that's what I'm doing right now is they will match you with sponsors, match you with ads, which is super cool. And they will pay you whatever the rate is per 1,000 listeners. So that's pretty dope. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one central place, which is amazing. Very easy to use, very easy to switch over. If you were already using a software like I was, it's incredible. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And that wraps up our ads for today. Okay, let's get into the podcast, y'all. So, as we all know, social media can be a great place. It can also be a not so great place. So, this week, and probably for a couple weeks now, I personally have been feeling very overwhelmed with the state of our world and everything that is going on in it. So, obviously, past couple months, pretty much all of 2020 has just been nonstop, always something going on. Obviously, we're dealing with a lot of issues that, again, should have been dealt with a long time ago. And I don't want to get into those specific issues as much as I want to get into on the individual level how it's making people like me and people like you guys probably feel, which I have no better word for it than overwhelmed. So I started thinking about this podcast episode because I was on Twitter. Twitter is one of my favorite social media platforms. I know a lot of people hate it, but up until recently, Twitter has been pretty good place to get information, to get news, to get memes, and it was a good mixture. My timeline was always a good mixture between serious and funny, and I enjoyed being on Twitter. I have deleted Twitter. I have not deleted my Twitter account. I have just, for right now, deleted the Twitter app because I found myself day in and day out scrolling on there for 20 minutes or so and just being disheartened and overwhelmed and stressed and just a realm of negative emotions, because my Twitter was full of, another black man shot, another girl raped, another officer abusing power, another child missing, another COVID case, another this, another that. It's so much. And here again, I am not saying that we should not be talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. I am not saying that social media should not be a place where injustices are, put in front of people's faces. But I also think we need to recognize that we were never meant to intake this much information. We were never made to be able to handle the amount of news and information that is now thrown at us because of social media, this didn't exist before. And there again, it can be used as a platform for something really good and really powerful. But at the same time, it can really overwhelm and disturb a lot of people. And I'm not saying this as in like people who, maybe don't agree with Black Lives Matter being like, I'm sick of seeing this on my timeline. Like that is not the sentiment I am talking about. I am talking about that you care so much, that you are so fed up with seeing this. And one of the movements that I just mentioned has been a lot of women coming forward with sexual assault stories and sharing harassment and assault that has happened to them. And I think that is wonderful. Again, I think that social media can be a place for hope and courage to other people who maybe haven't shared their experiences. I think it takes a lot of courage to speak up on there and have so many people potentially see it, because some of this stuff goes super viral, probably more than even the person who posted it expected. And I do not want to downplay or discredit or disregard any of those kinds of stories and sentiments being shared. But there again, as a female seeing this, I'm slowly beginning to shut down because I can't process it all. I am so sick and disgusted, and I don't even know where to begin anymore or how to help, because I think as a person who cares, as many of us do, there's so many problems. You don't even know what to do next. You don't even know how to help, because like in one moment it was like, okay, Corona's happening, but then in the next moment it's like, man, like the Black community is still struggling for equal rights, and they're still being treated like this, and police are abusing their power in these situations, and that whole movement is like really rapid. And then next thing you know, these sexual assault stories are just like flooding your page, and you're like, how many more problems can we do? Like, it's almost like there's so much to tackle that you just start, like I said, to shut down, because you start to feel like hopeless and overwhelmed, because you're like, I don't even know what to tackle first or how to tackle any of this. It seems like so much bigger than you that you don't even know where to begin. And there's so much wrong with the world. And there's problems that, aren't even on Twitter or, social media in general trending right now. There's so many problems. Like, there's people who don't have places to live and food to eat and, health care, and, there's countries at war and terrorism, and Like there's so much. And then something that I'm super passionate about, like the environmental crisis, I can't help but sit here and think like how poorly coronavirus has impacted the environment because of everything needing like thrown out anymore. Like you can't bring in reusable bags. Well, guess what? Like those plastic bags, like you gotta throw them out, and like, you know, people aren't like taking things like they once were, like maybe to recycle them. They're like, oh, it might be contaminated, so you just gotta throw it in the landfill. And then finding out, you know, recycling, at least in the city of Cleveland, isn't even really happening. So it goes in the landfill. There's just so much. There's so much that we have as a society to recognize and to try to work through that it is extremely overbearing. And granted, no one's gonna do this by themselves overnight. Like, we have to be in this for the long haul with any of these problems. But I think I speak for all of us when I say it's emotionally and mentally just exhausting. And that is why I deleted Twitter, because I felt like I couldn't intake all this stuff anymore. And like I said, it was just day after day. It was another this, another that, and I was like, are we making any progress anywhere? Is anybody, you know, safe? Is anybody okay? And I think we need to recognize that is okay. That you do not have to be up to date minute by minute, day by day on every single story. There are so many names. It was like day after day I was seeing like names of these people that have gone missing, or of like another person who had been shot and killed. And like, I'm like, I never even heard of this person. Like, when did this happen? And sometimes it was like older stories, you know, being brought like to light now, but sometimes it was like just happening. It was like, it's so much. And I think we have to tell ourselves that you can still be an advocate, that you can still care, but that doesn't mean that you have to have your screen on in your face, you know, 20 hours out of a 24-hour day. We can't. It's not healthy, and I don't know if it's productive, to be honest with you. I don't know if that's going to make anybody productive if we're just constantly looking at, there again, minute by minute, what's going on. So, as a Christian, I am supposed to have, you know, peace. I'm supposed to have this like overwhelming peace, this unexplainable peace in the middle of anxiety-filled, emotional, turmoil times like this. And I really feel like the devil is just working lately. He's just been working. Like, he's been putting in 70 hours a week. That's what he's been doing. It's like he's just having a field day. And lately, which, see, this becomes dangerous, I'm getting so burnt out that I don't want to listen to anything. I have been slowly shutting down, like, mentally, like, my capacity to intake information, because I had been intaking all of this. And there again, you know, when it came to like the Black Lives Matter movement, like trying to intake like education and try to learn, you know, I feel like a lot of white people did that. We're like, well, crap, like, we want to be advocates. We need to know like what's going on to help these people, but we don't even know like the backstory. We don't even know the history. We don't even understand what these things are and why this has been going on for so long, and how systematic racism got started. Like, so I think a lot of us kind of like flooded and overflowed ourselves with trying to like intake information so quickly. And, you know, even my pastor, Pastor Noah Nickel, like did a brief Instagram story where he was like, I know you guys like want to help. I know you want to educate yourself to be allies and advocates for this, but you need to pace yourself because you're gonna burn yourself out if you so rapidly try to, take all this information in to try to like help, be a part of the solution, which is great, but you can't just do it all so quickly that you're gonna fry yourself out. So I think like it's just been one thing after another, just on top of. And lately I'm so like burnt out with all of this stuff, like mentally. I don't even want to listen to sermons. Like I used to like at least once a week, turn on like a Furtick sermon on my own, and like, I would listen to my church's like messages on Sundays. And I just don't even want to. I have no desire to. I haven't really opened my Bible. I haven't really prayed. I'm so mentally, and again, like just overwhelmed and just so over capacity with everything that's wrong. It's like, okay, if I'm going to pray, I don't even know where to start. Like, Lord Jesus, like just everything. Like, what are you praying about? Everything. Because everything A through Z just needs help right now. And I'm not saying this is good. I'm not saying that you should do this, if you claim to be a follower of Jesus and a Christian. But I'm just saying, like, that's where I've been at. And I feel like if I'm there, I can't be the only one where I'm burnt out. I don't want to intake any more information. So the only thing I've been listening to is very surface level, lighthearted, funny, like comedy, like, now I'll like turn on like, a Sebastian Maniscalco like stand-up clip or something like that, because it's like, I don't have to think about this. I don't have to try to like put mental energy towards it. I can just listen to it and like move on. So I'm saying this because if you're finding yourself to be in a place like this, let me backtrack a second. I have never, since getting social media, which has been years now, I have never deleted an app other than Snapchat because I simply just wasn't using it anymore. But what I'm saying is I have never gotten to the point, because you'll see this all the time. People will be like, oh, I'm taking a break from social media, I'm gonna be gone for the next month or the next week or whatever, just to take like a cleanse. I've never done that. I've never been the person to do that. And every time someone did, I went, I don't understand. I was like, what do you need a break from? Like, obviously, could I spend less time on social media and on my phone per day? Absolutely, I could. Like, and does it maybe make me like procrastinate or not get as much done? Probably. But I didn't understand like when people would say like mentally like they needed to just do like a detox of it. I was like, what? I don't get that. This is the first time I have ever deleted an app because I needed a cleanse from social media. And that's saying like a lot. Like I'm saying this back story a little bit to explain how overwhelmed I have been scrolling through Twitter, because I don't take social media cleanses. I don't do detoxes like that. But it's gotten to the point where I'm like, I have to get off of here. I just do. I couldn't take in anymore. So going back to the Christian thing, and me as a Christian, supposedly having peace right now, I don't have that. And is it my fault? Probably, because I'm not seeking it. But I'm just literally so burnt out that I like can't deal. So what's crazy is I saw this post on somebody's Instagram yesterday on their story, and I like hunted down like the username to find out who it was from. And a pastor, his name is Garret, Kell, posted, and I want to read this to you because this could not have been more timely and more fitting to what I've been feeling in this topic for today's podcast. Pastor Kell said, quote, "One of the most dangerous things a Christian can do right now is neglect Bible reading. Thousands of voices are attempting to convince you how to think. Be certain you are being shaped. More scripture, less social media. More Bible, less books. More prayer, less blog posts." End quote. And I just was like, yes. So what concerns me, which is I'm going to call myself out and draw attention to this posture of my heart right now, is I've been so burned out because I've been on social media and books and posts and all this stuff and letting those voices kind of overwhelm me that I have neglected to do the thing that is going to give me not only peace but clarity and answers and understanding almost. I think some wisdom, some knowledge will come from opening the Bible and by praying. But instead, I got to the point where I've been so burnt out that, as he said, I've done now the most dangerous thing I could do, and that is to neglect the voice of God, whether through prayer or Bible reading or messages or whatever. So I think deleting Twitter just like a day and a half ago now was like the first step I needed to take to try to bring myself back. This is like a continual journey. Again, I say to any followers of Jesus listening to this, if you're not, you might not understand this as well, but just because you make that decision doesn't mean that every day and every week it's going to be an easy decision to uphold your responsibility and your need to fill yourself up. It is going to be very easy in certain times over others for other things to get to you and to bog you down and to burn you out and take up more place and more time where place and time should be given to more life-giving and life-fulfilling things. So I just had to share that because something that I have been doing moving into kind of like the next half of, this, it's not a timeline, that's not what it is. Moving into this progression, like everything has a cause and effect, So I'm burnt out, not really going to the Bible, but in turn, I'm so overwhelmed by these issues, don't know where to start, don't know what to do, don't know how to help. I'm staying kind of in my own life's bubble. And this is where I get into my title for today. It's safer, but it's selfish. So I have taken the stance recently of there's so much going on with me, which there is. July is probably going to be the busiest month I've had since January, December even maybe. Like this is going to be one of the most hectic months of 2020, if not the most hectic month of 2020 so far. And after being on like this slow, I don't really have to go anywhere, I don't really have like all these responsibilities or deadlines, it's kind of hard to just jump back into being so active and being so busy. So I'm like, well, there's a lot going on with me right now, so like I need to like get through my stuff, and I'm kind of in my own bubble, like, checking up on my friends still and like what's going on with them, but it's still like my life, like my little micro individual ecosystem of, what's going on with Nicole. but and that's safer for my mental health in the short term, or at least I feel like it is. But it's also very selfish of me to have such a tiny view in a very microscopic lens to look at things with, and I'm only looking, focusing on the middle, which is like my life, and I'm not looking at anything in the wide lens of what's going on. So it's safer, maybe for the short term, but it's also selfish. There are things, like I just said, that are bigger than me that I can't just ignore or run away from. I can't just delete Twitter and just, have this little bubble of, oh, this is Nicole's life, and just run away and forget about everything else going on with everyone else. And these problems that, again, are impactful to all of us as a human race and as a society as a whole. But I have to intake things at a slower pace. Like my pastor, Noah Nichols, said, I can't just ingest all this information and try to mentally grasp it and cope with it all at once, or too fast, or too much at one time, because I'm going to get overwhelmed and I'm going to get burnt out. Digesting these stories, it's so overwhelming to scroll and scroll and scroll. And again, I say we were never made to take all of this in so quickly, so fast, and so much at one time. It's overwhelming. And again, like, social media can be great. It has like so many pros for a platform that can bring about awareness and conversation and change, but it also has so many downfalls, and sometimes it's not even like the social media platform itself and like the news that's getting put out there. Sometimes it's even just the individual people you see. Like, if people are attacking people, it doesn't make for a good mix, and I just it's too much sometimes. So I want to say that I think it is not only normal to be overwhelmed right now, it is expected for you as an individual. If you are keeping tabs on any of this, if you are on social media through any platform or capacity, to be overwhelmed right now. But we need to keep in mind that it is not bad, it is not wrong that in this time where so much is going on, if you need to say, I need to shut it off, I need to delete it, I need to get off of here for a little bit because it's too much for me, and it's not helping me or the cause or anyone, it's only like kind of crippling me, which makes me not be a great ally or a great advocate if I can't be confident in what I want to post or what I need to say, as an individual to be an ally and an advocate, then it's not helping me, it's hurting. And I think it's okay for us to say we're going to walk away from the phone, we're going to walk away from the platform for a little bit. I mean, and everyone is going to be different. I don't know how long I'm going to be off Twitter. It's kind of been weird because I go on my phone. I have this routine where I check Instagram and then I check Twitter, and so I check Instagram and then I come back to my apps and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go on Twitter, and it's not there. I'm like, oh wow, this is weird. Again, this is the first time I've done this, so I'm like, I don't know how long I'm gonna be off of it. It's still kind of weird, but I wonder how much I'm really gonna miss it, or how many days it's gonna take for me to kind of break that pattern of expecting it to be on my phone. I might not be back on for a couple months, I don't know, or maybe it'll only be a week. Excuse me, I really don't know. And I think that you can log off and sign out and, delete the app or whatever, and you don't need to tell anyone. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to do any of that, because this is your mental health and your personal decision that you're making. And you don't need to give a deadline that you're going to be back on. Like, you don't need to tell people, oh, don't worry, I'll be back on in like 2 days. But like, just let it just flow how it's going to flow. And you get back on when you're good and ready for it. B, in that time that you're not on social media, whatever you decide to delete, and again, you don't have to delete everything. Like I said, I'm still on Instagram. Like, I didn't delete Instagram yet. Might the day come? Maybe. I haven't decided yet. But what I'm saying is, fill that time, and I'm preaching to myself when I say this, fill that time with, again, I'm going to talk from the Christian perspective, that we need to fill that time with being in our Bible, or being in prayer, or listening to a message, listening to something life-giving instead of draining. Replace those two. And maybe whatever that is for you, like if it's not the Bible and if it's not prayer, maybe it's just replacing that time with meditation and reading something for your enjoyment. Not reading necessarily something like on like Black history education, or like civil rights movement. Like, those are great things to read, and I hope like people are reading them. I want to read more stuff like that. But I'm saying, like, in that time that, again, you would spend on social media that you are taking a break from, replace it with something for you, like for your mind to calm, and for you to be able to then be the best version of yourself that you can be in that day, in that week, going forward. So then you have more of a mental and emotional capacity to open yourself up to further education, further conversations, and being an even better advocate and ally. Because this stuff is not going away overnight. Lord Jesus, I wish it was. Like I said, the devil is just running rampant right now. And again, I don't take my position or my platform on here lightly. So I feel like I have, if I claim that I'm a follower of Jesus, I have even more of a responsibility that I carry to not be overwhelmed or consumed like the world, but instead to say we have a lot of problems that are very, very overwhelming, and they weigh a lot, and like it makes hearts heavy, but I have something that brings about peace and solution and uplifting and goodness to it. And so I feel like it has been, what I've been doing the past couple weeks, it has been not a good thing for me, or probably for anybody around me, or people who don't even know me necessarily, but how I am going to act and react in this time, I think is going to be a reflection of what I am being filled with. And like I said, recently and right now, that is not what it should be. I'm not being filled with what I should be. So again, whether you're a believer or not, and you're into Bible reading and prayer, I encourage you to, if you find yourself overwhelmed, to do what you need to do. Again, delete social media, spend time meditation, prayer, reading something, to give yourself some mental and emotional relief and a break from all of this. I promise you, when you come back, the problems probably haven't gone anywhere. They're still gonna be there, maybe just in a little bit different form. continually going to be a challenge that we all have to work through as a society. And I'm talking about all the problems I've listed. Like, this is the virus has not magically disappeared. Women have magically not, started being respected by all men. And police haven't magically overnight stopped abusing their power. So like, all these problems are still going to be there, unfortunately, tomorrow when you wake up. But what are you filling yourself with? What voice are you letting kind of lead you in how you feel emotionally? Because I feel like the better emotionally and mentally you are, individually, on a personal level, you're just going to be that much better of a friend, of an advocate, as an ally, in whatever capacity and realm that looks like for you. So, with that being said, it is safer to stay in your own little bubble, to just ignore and try to block out and shut the door on all these issues, because it's so much. But it's selfish. It's selfish on your part, because you have a stake in this too, as a human. You really do. We all have like a stake in this, and we should, take pride in that. That this is our issue now. Again, whatever problem you're looking at, make it your issue, that you should care about, and that you should try to not necessarily solve, because again, you're not going to be able to do that by yourself overnight, but something that you care about and that you can learn about, and that you can be there for someone who it does directly affect. Be a friend, be a neighbor, be a member of your community that can show up and can care and can pour out onto others, because you have filled yourself up and have been poured into. I think that that's super crucial at a time like this, and it's not easy. I have failed at it, obviously, I will admit that, but I see it now, and again, I'm taking like small steps. Again, it's not going to happen overnight. Your personal problems that you're facing, as a result maybe of all these other problems, again, the solution's not going to come overnight. It's going to come from consistency and realization and dedication to resolving. Just slowly, step by step, resolving, and bringing yourself back to and above where you were, bettering yourself as a person. Just because you got off on the wrong track does not mean you should beat yourself up, does not mean that you should give up. That just means you got to do a little bit more work and kind of turn it around and come back to where you were. So thank God for grace for that. Grace that extends not only from God to us, but grace that should extend from me to you, from you to me. That's like a whole nother topic, but that's how I'm gonna finish this podcast off. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening. Hope everything I said made sense. I would love to hear from you guys. Message me on in the comments. If you're on YouTube, message me on my Instagram, not my Twitter, because I'm not on Twitter right now. Haha. Instagram would be cool. Let me know you're listening. This is now on Apple Podcasts, so if you can leave a 5-star review if you listen to this and you like it, that would be wonderful. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube yet, make sure you do that. Share this with a friend if you feel like someone you know needs to listen to it. Give it a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a review, give it something, y'all. So I appreciate seeing you guys who are watching. I appreciate you guys who watch week in and week out. Would not be here doing this without you, A1 since day one kind of thing. And I just appreciate the support and the listen. So I hope everybody has a good week, a non-overwhelming week going forward. And we'll just continue to talk about what's going on. I hope you guys can relate to this and take some helpful and actionable advice from it. So with that being said, I will see you guys next week. Be wonderful human beings, flourish and grow and prosper, and I'll see y'all next time.